Hey, good weekend to you. Welcome to Leading Edge. Good to have you along. I'm Jerry Anderson. All right. Now, maybe some big news broke this week in the hotly contested Ohio U.S. Senate race. Incumbent Senator Rob Portman, who is not seeking re-election, has endorsed the former Republican Party chair in the state of Ohio, Jane Timken, to replace him. It's his seat they're trying to fill. She's part of a very crowded GOP field, which will be narrowed in the May primary. Now, how much weight Portman's endorsement will carry among the Republican base, those are the folks who tend to turn out, after all, in primaries, remains to be seen. All right, wanted to pass it along. A news development there. Yeah, news. Real news. Really. I'm not kidding you. And on today's show, we're talking news. A little later, a gentleman who you heard anchoring news on radio for over half a century, London Mitchell, joins me. But up first, fake news. It really is a thing, but not what one of its staunchest users of late, the former president, might have us think. How serious an issue is fake news? How ticked off are we as consumers by the knowledge that there are people out there who deliberately are trying to misinform us? I believe those are among the many, many questions about fake news my first guest set out to answer. Dr. Christy Galletta Horner is an assistant professor, and I want to get this right because you're in the School of Educational Foundations, Leadership, and Policy. Am I close?
You got it correct.
PhD in developmental psychology. And she's an avid researcher and recently helped conduct research into fake news. And because of your background, I know with developmental psychology, you really wanted to look at people's emotions when it comes to this subject. Explain that.
That's exactly right. I think a lot of times research tends to focus on what we think, so cognitive things, and not as much on the way that we feel about things. And I really think that emotions play a big role in the way that we interact online, and in particular, the way that we interact with fake news. So a team and I set out to determine, if and how people's emotions interact in their sharing of fake news.
All right.
On media.
Let's do some basics here. I know you talked to closing in on 900 people and online. Perfect, because that's, as I think we're going to find out, where the fake news is circulating. So let's do some basics here, Doctor, if we can. I just categorically stated that fake news is real, but let's define terms. What is fake news?
Absolutely. So fake news has been used in a lot of different ways, and it kind of ranges from something that is being taken out of context or information that's being presented without appropriate context, all the way, to the other end of the spectrum, which is completely fabricated information, stuff that is just made up. It is not true. And that is the kind of fake news that we studied in this particular research study.
And where is fake news most often found these days?
We are seeing a lot of fake news spreading on social media because it is very easy to create things that look real, and it's very easy to spread them around like wildfire amongst the population.
Well, there's no filter, right? I worked in the news business for 4 decades. Believe me, before I put something on the air, producers saw it, news directors saw it, everybody saw it, had to be backed up, double sourced at least, if not more. I could write that same story, make one up, make it sound just as official, and I can put it out there. As for awareness, Doctor, did your research find that are people aware that there is deliberate fake news floating around out there?
So it seemed like people were probably aware. We didn't ask them that directly, but we did ask them about their emotional reactions to different headlines that we created. We didn't send these off into actual social media spaces. People knew that they were part of a research study, but we had them look at a headline and said, how do you feel about this? And they told us about all their different emotional reactions. We asked them why they felt that way. And then we said, what if you saw this spreading around on social media, or somebody posted this and it's fake now? How would you feel about that? And so, again, we asked people to explain the reasons that they felt certain ways. And a lot of people really just weren't terribly fazed by the spread of social.
I think this may have become the headline of this thing, because being aware, and you say that most people, your sense is, even if you didn't ask them directly, they seem, we know it's that. Yes. They seem to be aware.
Absolutely.
Being aware is one thing, caring is another. And you just alluded to that. After talking with nearly 900 people, the largest group, they didn't all speak with one voice, but the largest group of respondents said what?
Sure. So they said that they were less likely to push back against the spread of fake news. They didn't experience very strong emotions, and they were more likely to just kind of let fake news go by rather than stepping in and trying to to push back against it.
Did that surprise you?
Information. I was really surprised about this, and some others that I've spoken to who are experts are not as surprised. I guess I was a little bit more optimistic that people would be very concerned about this because I'm very concerned about it. I think, even if fake news seems like it's going to help our own party, it's just bad for democracy. No fake news is good fake news. And so I was surprised that so many people in our study were willing to just to be passive observers, or even say that they would share it themselves knowing it's fake.
Knowing it is fake, they're glad to pass it along. But for the most part, they're like, yeah, it's just there. Hold on.
Yeah, I was thinking we'd see about 100% of people saying, no, I wouldn't share this, but it was only about 80% saying I wouldn't.
Now, some people are all caught up in the latest news, real or fake, and they can't wait to share it. This hot group, I think, is what you call these folks. So they're all about the share, even when they know that sharing is fake.
Yeah, so we found three groups. The cold group, who they weren't very phased. They didn't intend to really push back or to really spread emotions sometimes, or fake news sometimes. The hot group had higher emotional responses, and they also were more likely to take actions that would either spread the fake news or suppress the fake news. So they were more engaged than the cold group was.
And when they engage, Dr. Christy Galletta Horner is my guest here from Bowling Green State University. When they do engage, they do so in what way? I mean, do they actually stand up and say, stop this crap, this isn't real? Or do they engage? And when they engage, they tend to do so to reinforce their point of view, though, don't they?
We did find that people were more likely to try to say that they would try to push back on the fake news if they saw the fake news as attacking their own party. If they thought it was going to harm their own party, they were more likely to try to push back against it, yes.
Okay. That sets the stage with what do we do with this? She's already said it's very important to her. And I got to tell you, as a 40-year practitioner, it's important to me. I think it's important for our society. It's important for our democracy. We're going to pick up our discussion when we come back. This is Leading Edge.